Hey guys, so in light of me playing far too much Diablo Reaper of Souls in the last couple of, probably the last week or so, I decided to do another 48 of it, just to kind of show off the class, the new environments, and like adventure mode. Um, I'll do some of the stuff in the new act, but I won't do any of the story stuff because I've already completed the campaign, so I want to at least leave something to your guys' imagination as far as what's going on with the story in Diablo. Not that there's a lot of story to begin with. So we'll go ahead and start up. I've already got my Crusader loaded up. This is my higher level of the two Crusaders that I have. I find that the Crusader is actually a really super buff, like really hard to kill guy. And I think that's the whole point, is he's supposed to be super tanky, really like, he's just like a battlefield presence. He just hangs out and does what he does, and everybody else kills a bunch of stuff. Now I'm sure you could build a Crusader to be an absolute beast when it comes to tearing stuff up, but he does a pretty good job on his own. So this is the Act 5 town. You were running around in crap, what the hell is the name of this town? Westmarch-ish. You were in the Westmarch area. You know, it's a pretty big little town here. So we have a new crafter. So instead of just the blacksmith and your jewel crafter, you now have your mystic. And what the mystic can do is she can do two things. She can enchant items, which basically means she takes a piece of gear and you can take one stat on it and change it to whatever it may roll. And you click on the little question mark, it'll say, hey, here's all the possible stats this could roll into. Of course, it costs crafting mats. The higher quality of the item, so like a yellow probably won't take anything you don't have a lot of. But if you took your legendaries, like my shield here, it then starts to cost legendary mats and more materials. I'm not too terribly worried about that. It's you know, it's just it's a expense in, you know, making your gear what it is. The second thing that the mystic can do, and she can transmogrify gear. So basically, as you play, you will unlock new weapon models for all of your gear, shoulders, helm, whatever. So you can take your gear and say, I've got this spear that looks kind of crappy, and you can take it and turn it into something else. Turn it into a dagger. Any one of the other spear models they have. A lot of the one-handers can be replaced by other one-handers. Except like flails can only be replaced by flails. I believe shield, like pieces of armor, can only be replaced by other pieces of armor. But most of the weapons are interchangeable because it doesn't really matter what your weapon is as long as the animations are the same, I guess. So like my Crusader's armor has all been transmogrified just so it looks nice and neat, and it's all the same thing, and he looks like a badass. So I'm running around in adventure mode right now. Adventure mode is unlocked once you complete the campaign. So it kind of forces you to say, hey, you have to play the campaign all the way through. And it doesn't matter what difficulty you play it through, or if you scale it down as you go like I had to. Because the boss fights do get really hard and really long. I think I died like 3 or 4 times on Malfail before I finally actually killed him. And I actually, you know, I was playing on, what is it, Master difficulty. I had to drop it to Expert just for that fight because he is so hard. He's got so much life. He does so much damage. There is a bit of a disparity between, you know, Expert and Master that I thought was kind of unfair. Like, the amount of life he has versus the amount of damage he does is still kind of way up there. Like, they want these fights to last more than, you know, 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Like, these are like 10-minute fights, unless you vastly overgear them. So what I'm going to do is, they have showed like they talked about, like, you know, after the campaign, what do you do? Do you just keep running it over and over again? Well, now they have introduced bounties. So once you complete the game, once you go into adventure mode, Tyrael will be like, hey, there's a whole bunch of bounties for you to do. Please go kill a bunch of monsters and stuff. I'm going to turn the audio up a little bit because game audio is a little low. That's better. So now, when you come to a zone, you'll see the little, WoW-esque exclamation marks for all of the bounties that there are available to do. Most of them are, hey, go to, this zone, kill X number of mobs, which is usually like 30, 40 mobs. So this one's 50. So you have to find some sort of named mob or kill a boss, and then take out all of the monsters in the zone. So, in completing these bounties, you're gaining experience and money, just like you would, like in WoW, because they're basically WoW quests, right? Go kill 10 bears and collect their hides. This is like, go kill 50 of these monsters and then go kill this one rare monster or name spawn that always will spawn. That way you don't wind up having to like restart a whole bunch of crap. One of the main problems I have with like Act 5 in general is the areas are very, very large. So it takes a really long time to get anywhere. For the campaign mode, this is okay because you're playing through all of this stuff the first time. You really want to like get a lot of experience and kill a lot of these newer monsters because, hey, you've not seen a lot of these character models before, or you really want to like check out all of the new stuff, kind of learn the layouts of these things, because they still have the tile set system, right? Like, they haven't changed that fundamentally at all. The zones are just way bigger, and the tiles have, a lot more little inlets for you to go into as far as like mini dungeons. This is probably a bad one to start with, because this requires me to find a Rift Lord as well as kill all the stuff inside of it. So as you can tell, the Crusader is primarily designed around using a shield and a one-hander. Now the one-hander can be a sword, it could be a flail, it could be anything. Or it could even be a two-handed weapon. Crusaders have a passive, which I'm not currently using, that allows them to equip a two-handed weapon and a shield. Much like the Barbarians of Diablo 2, where there was a passive ability that you could get that would, let them equip two two-handed weapons. You can't do that in this game, which makes me really sad, because I really wish the barbs could equip two-handed swords, but I can see how that would be super overpowered. Two-handers in this game are a lot they're just a lot heavier on stats. Like, you're more guaranteed to get, 500 or 600 at level 7, 500 or 600 of strength or vit on two-handed weapon. That's kind of a lot of life and kind of a lot of damage. So if you look at the top, the nameplates have changed. So if it is a monster you need to kill for your bounty, it then gets this, scrolly looking nameplate. Usually, that's just so that you know, hey, this is the monster I need to kill for this bounty. That just makes it easier for you to figure out, hey, this is the big monster I gotta kill. It's not as easy. Once I get through this bounty, I'll show you rifts and stuff. But basically, they added just a lot of different ways to keep playing the game. If you really wanted to, play your Crusader from 1 to 70 in adventure mode, once you've beaten the game the first time, you can totally do that. Like, I started this guy, got him to like 35, and was like, alright, I don't really want to finish Act 2 again, because after playing this game for a few months, probably 6 or 7 months in the last year since it came out. Maybe it's been 2 years. I really don't want to play all those acts again if I don't have to. Doing them piecemeal for bounties is fine because you're only like, you gotta go to one zone, you gotta kill this monster, you gotta find this cursed chest or this cursed shrine, and then you're good. You get your reward, and then you're out. So I think adventure mode is really kind of giving a new lease on life for Diablo for a lot of people, not just me. You still have to complete the campaign, but that's okay because the campaign is not bad. I think if I had just not done any of the side quest stuff and just powered through it and played, like, the campaign itself, if you don't do all the side quest stuff and you don't explore, is probably only about 3 hours long. And a lot of that you're going to be dying on bosses because the zones are not, like, they're not, I don't want to say they're not big, but because they're huge. But they're very straightforward. It's like, you need to go here, you need to find where you need to go. It's just cutting through the giant pile of monsters in between you and your exit. Now one of the big differences, other than the fact that there's been an expansion between when I did my first 48 of Diablo and this, is they revamped the loot system, so it's more in line with the loot system that the console versions have. And so you get, so you're more likely to get higher level gear while playing. So your chances of getting legendaries has gone up pretty significant amount. Like this guy, I had the shield drop the last time I played him, so it was only like, I don't know, I'm only playing for like an hour and I got a shield drop. Now, you'll still get those dry times when you're just running around, you don't get any legendaries, whatever, that's fine. If you're leveling a character anyway, it doesn't really matter, because if a legendary drops on him, it's going to scale to that character's level. And as far as I can tell, legendaries drop, like you could get a Wind Fury at level 10, or a Thunder Fury at level 10, as well as a Thunder Fury at level 70, and while the passive is the same, it still like has the arcing lightning and whatever. The stats will be, significantly lower for the level 10 version versus the level cap version. But that's still really cool that, like, at any point during the game while you're leveling your character, you could get this awesome looking weapon. And I've had that. I got, the Skeleton King's, both of the Skeleton King's weapons, as well as his crown, on this Crusader. I just don't use them because I don't really need a two-handed mace. Sorry about that. Okay, so I completed the bounty. You get a nice big fat chunk of gold and experience. I don't know if you can read that, but it says 17,000 gold and 810,000 experience. That just goes up as you level. Like, this entire game scales to you as you play now. Alright, so that is the first bounty. So each zone has 5 bounties you can do every day. And certain zones will get, bonuses. The bonus is just you get extra blood shards or whatever, which, here, I'll show you what blood shards do. Blood shards are for the new form of gambling. So before, you would have to spend gold on it, and it was a real easy way to just get gear. Where the hell is the blood shard vendor in this town? There she is. So if you had like 10 million gold, you could sit there and just gamble it all away, and you'd probably get 2 or 3 really nice things out of, a bunch of gold, and then a bunch of crap that you would have to sell.
Are you ready?
This is basically that same system. You can get gear for any slot you need. One-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, class-specific offhands. The quivers, the mojos, and the orbs for your wizards and demon hunters and whatnot. But you can also, you can get one piece of gear for, you can get gear for all of your slots. So if you were severely lacking and you have a ton of these blood shards sitting, this might not be a bad way for you to try to get a new piece of gear. I believe these can be anything from blue items, so magic quality items, to legendary items, and possibly even like set gear. I haven't yet to get any set gear or legendary items out of this, but I hear you can do it. And then you can also get rings and amulets. And they're the cost is mostly dependent on the slot. An amulet is 20 because you can only carry one, or you can only equip one, whereas rings are 5 or 10 because you can equip 2. So we'll go ahead and I've got 5 blood shards, so I got a bunch of blood shards for finishing that. Not a bunch, but I got a handful of blood shards for finishing that bounty. So we'll go with I need boots because those boots are level 40. So these aren't that much better. No, they're not even close to that much better. So we're gonna go ahead and just vendor and trash all this stuff. So your buddy Hadrig and whatever the hell, Covetous, the jewel crafter, they both have a lot of new patterns. I picked up a couple of legendary patterns just by doing stuff. Like this Born's Heart of Steel. This was a super low level pattern I picked up just running around on my Crusader. And that's pretty cool. And they have Crusader shields and stuff like that. So you can totally deck out your Crusader. If you've already got a level 10 blacksmith, he knows all these patterns already, so you could totally just deck him out as you level him. The same rules apply to the loot drops as they do with the crafting drops. They the gear is going to scale to the character. Well, what the crafting stuff is you have to be at least level 50 to use this piece of item, this piece of gear. So it's going to scale, to that 50 to 56 range or whatever it is. So just remember that you're not going to get a super badass thing, but you can sit there and go oh, I need a socket in my weapon, and just keep grinding out weapons until you get a socket in it, like this one. You do have new gems. The new gems are kind of nice. So you'll start seeing marquee gems once you hit 60 if you're playing in Torment. And you'll start seeing Imperial gems once you hit 70, I believe. The stats on them are kind of ridiculous. It's a pretty big jump between the highest level gem in Diablo 3 and the lowest level gem in Reaper Souls. The Reaper Souls ones, they start at 60. I believe the highest level gems for D3, I don't have any because I never crafted them, we're 58. It's only a 4-point jump, but the Imperials are 100 of a stat, and then the ones above that, from what I gather, are 150 or 200 of a stat. So getting some of those really high level gems and putting them on a low level guy is going to make him super overpowered, which if you're leveling anyway and you're going to power game it because you want to get them to level cap because that's where all the good gear is. This has kind of become an MMO because that's kind of what Blizzard wanted it to be. The removal of the auction house, which doesn't really bother me, and which is just why I have money now in this game. It just doesn't. They fixed it with the revamping of the loot system. So not having an auction house doesn't hurt because you get legendaries, a couple of legendaries for every few hours you play. Sometimes you'll get real lucky and get 2 of them at once. Sometimes you won't. So it just kind of depends on, how lucky you are, how much gear you're going to get. So one of the other things they added were rifts. So as you complete bounties, you get things called rift stones. They are over here in my stash. So a rift stone, or a rift keystone fragment, when you collect 5 of them, it will allow you to open a rift. Rifts are pretty much endless dungeon mode. They randomly generate a map, and then it just takes a chunk of monsters and goes here, regardless of whether or not they were originally in that tile set or if they even belong in that zone or whatever. And So when, you know, and you don't have to complete the levels, right? Like it's kill X number of mobs and then find this one rare spawn or whatever the heck it is. It's just like a bounty. It's just if you go through and do all the bounties in a day, you then can do rifts, and it's just like, oh, we're gonna keep doing this. The rewards I think are better in rifts as far as like drops and money and whatever. But the big thing you get is like you get all the blood shards, and I think you get more parts for the infernal machine, which is like the super boss rush mode that they added, or not boss rush mode, but basically it spawns up random bosses for you to go fight, which I could see that'd be really fun, and unless you get, you know, two really big like stuff on the ground heavy bosses. So let's go ahead and do a rift so I can kind of show you that. Notice how there's no confirmation, like, do you want to do this, do you want to start this event? I've burned more rift stones because I accidentally clicked on this obelisk in Act 2 because it's like right in the middle of town versus being kind of off to the side somewhere, than I care to admit. Alright, so few succeeded over. So as you kill monsters in this mode, this little gauge fills up. Once this gauge hits 100%, then you get the named monster that you gotta kill. These can take 15 to 20 minutes. Usually it's about that. If you've got more people, you'll probably tear through it faster. I've done rifts with like 2 or 3 people at a time, and we were getting them done in 10-minute chunks. Like we would just rotate. Okay, it's your turn to pay. Your turn to pay. You know, the gameplay in Diablo hasn't really fundamentally changed, right? You're still clicking stuff to death. You're still using hot abilities. It's just I like some of the abilities in the Crusader a lot more than I do on some of the other characters. The ones I'm using now are Shield Flare, Condemn, Laws of Hope, Heaven's Fury, which is this space laser thing, which I think is awesome. Punish and Shield Bash. So Shield Bash is exactly that. You can use it as a gap closer. You can never get it to work right. Your dude will like charge the monster, and then, you know, depending on what rune you use on it, he'll either, you know, he'll do a bunch of damage to the first monster, and then he'll either do a bunch of damage to the stuff behind him or the stuff in front of him. Ooh. They also added pylons. So pylons are like super shrines that give you a ton of speed or damage or whatever. So the laws on your Crusader are a lot like the Monk's mantras, where it's a passive buff that you can then activate for a smaller buff for 20-30 seconds. Or no, it's not even that. I think it's like 10 or 15 seconds. So, you know, there's some pretty good stuff in here. So it's really easy. Like, same thing you could do with the Monk, you could totally do with the Crusader. You've got 3 guys playing, you know, Crusaders. They're going to sit there and choose those buffs. Like, one guy's going to run the damage, elemental damage reduction, one of them's going to run the life regen, and one of them's going to run the attack speed increase. Which is fine. Like, they're totally built to be played that way. You know, the monks can do the same thing. So then you're just kind of like stacking buffs and really cheesing it up hard. But the game gets harder the more people that play, so you could use every little bit of help. They did add some really cool new abilities to the monsters. You know, you still, like, the higher difficulties, you still get more abilities on the monsters, but they added like poison enchanted, so basically a little green ball shows up on the ground and then it blows up, and when it blows up it leaves a trail in like a Bomberman-esque kind of pattern. So it's like it just radiates in 4 directions out from that point. They added one called Orbiter, where it summons up like just this big swirly bit of lightning bolts, and you can avoid them. They're not really that hard to avoid, but it gets kind of irritating after a while, especially if it's stacked with a bunch of other don't stand in the fire type stuff. So this guy has Wormhole. Basically, these purple swirly bits, if you stand in it, it will teleport you to the other purple swirly bit. not really that dangerous, but it will, like, if you're trying to get away, it will kind of F you up. Or if you're trying to chase the monster and he runs over the whirlpool. Oh, those are bad ones. Let's see, what are some of the ones we had? Frozen or Frozen Pulse. So it's a lot like Frozen, or yeah, it's a lot like the Frozen buff, except it's like a little orb that will follow you around and pulse at you every couple of seconds. Still super dangerous because, you know, when you're frozen you can't do anything. I'm trying to think. There are other ones, I can't remember them all, but those are the ones that I remember that are actually like kind of interesting and kind of a pain in the ass when they get stacked with the wrong stuff. Since we got a moment. Nope, I don't want to go back to town. But remember what the hotkeys are. So yeah, the Crusader can totally be built all kinds of ways. Now I'm only, what, 53, so I haven't unlocked all the abilities yet. But, so there's your two-handed weapon as a one-hander ability. You do have to take like a 15% movement decrease, but that's okay because you're using a two-hander as a one-hander. You know, you get like a whole bunch of survivability talents. It's a lot like everybody else. You do get abilities to kind of help with everything. You know, and just because, like, if you don't want to use a shield, there are a couple of abilities you can use without a shield, and there's a build that you can do with it. I don't particularly care for it, but you know, whatever melts your butter, it's cool. Say, just like the barbarian and the monk and the wizard and all that, you have all of these abilities that are used for all of these different situations that you will find yourself in. And the good thing about it is, at level cap, before, as you would kill packs, you would get a debuff, or you would get a buff, and that would, you know, stack unless you change your character's skill set. Now you can change your skill set on the fly anytime you want. It's not really a big deal, which is great because there are times in which, you know, yeah, you've been running around killing monsters for an hour, you haven't died, whatever, but then you just start running headlong into this pack that you can't kill, and it's like, I need to change my strategy up. And like, I had to do that with Malfail, like on my barbarian. I had to change him to a ranged barbarian. I had to use weapon throw and a whole bunch of abilities I'd never had to use before, just to kill him, because that fight is not a melee friendly fight. I don't want to spoil it too much for people who haven't seen it, but I'm sure you can YouTube it if you really want to see it. Kind of wish I had a lot more. Wish it was doing more damage. Difficulty just so this goes a little bit quicker. So, obviously, like, with the difficulty drop, the monsters don't have as much life, they don't do as much damage. The trade-off is you also don't get as much experience, you don't get as good a loot. You know, I've played a lot of Master on this character and some Torment. I started out playing Torment on it, actually. And, you know, you get better drops. You get a lot more experience and money and things like that. But sometimes it's just not worth it for the sheer fact that, like, monsters have a ton of life. And some monster combinations are almost, I don't want to say impossible, but they are really, really tough. And, you know, it becomes unfun at points when you're sitting there for 5 minutes beating on a monster pack that you should have killed 10 minutes ago. Just because they have, you know, 250,000 life at level 40. Okay, you're looking at these guys have 300 and almost 400,000 life. I'm only level 50. I'm not doing that much damage per hit, so I really have to, like, focus monsters down and stuff like that. Which, that's just the build that I'm playing. Like, you could totally play an AoE Crusader where you just stand in the middle of everything and it just explodes.
Not ready yet.
Rift can take a long time, especially with the low DPS players. My barbarian probably would be doing a lot better, but then again, he's also geared, so.
Not yet.
too sure if you can leave the rift if you need to like dump your bags. My bags are getting kind of full before. So one of the other changes they made between when I did my first 40-year game this they changed up the Paragon system so that your Paragon levels now are account-wide, right? So as you level your higher level character, so say you have a level 70 like I do, his Paragon levels will then translate to extra stats for all of your characters. As soon as I kill this guy, I'll show you. No. Okay. So you now have your little Paragon button. You can do that. So I've gained 6 Paragon levels on my Barbarian since the last time I played this Crusader. So each character is going to have these 4 tabs, these 4 options. So usually it's your primary stat. So for Crusaders and Barbarians, it's Strength. For Monks and Demon Hunters, it's Dexterity. For Witch Doctors and Mages, it's Intelligence. And then Life, Movement Speed, and then whatever your resource is. I'm just stacking Strength on this guy. And then you'll also have like the offense, defense, and utility, I believe, are all the same across the board. I like life regen, like a lot. I like being able to not die in a fight. I guess having more strength or armor or magic resistance would help a lot. But I'm gonna drop the difficulty just because this is taking a while and I wanted it to. That, and I probably won't get it done before this video needs to be done. So just stop running into monsters for a second. That would be awesome. See how that works. So in lowering the difficulty, I've now reduced the amount of experience I get, reduced the amount of life the monsters have, and reduced my chance for getting decent drops. You still get them, right? Like, it doesn't reduce the quality of the drops, it just reduces the frequency of the drops. While I'm not too terribly worried about not getting legendaries and whatnot. I've got a nice little fat stack of them hanging out in my bank just from playing my Barbarian for a while. But most of the ones I've gotten have been on this guy for the lower levels. So, you get a nice little pile of gear by the time you're done leveling a single character. Unfortunately, all the stats will be geared towards that character's class. So you will probably wind up getting stuff that has, if you're playing a mage, you'll get stuff that's level 10, and it will only be usable on either another mage or a witch doctor. But you can, re-roll those stats with the mystic. So, you can always get the stats you want. You just have to pay for them either through material costs and gold. But you should have a ton of gold, because you have nothing to spend it on except repairs and crafting. It seems like that bar's going to stop faster. getting a lot of yellows. Just not getting a lot of yellows that are upgrades. Ooh, actually, those are upgrades. I, you know, take that back. Ooh, even condemn damage too.
Not ready yet.
Oh, my guy doesn't look as cool as he did now. Alright, so I'm not cleared this level, but I can go to the next one when I find the, oh shit, I thought I found it. Oh well. When you find the stairway or the portal or whatever to the next level of the rift, it will then take you to a new tile set with a whole new group of enemies. I did think it was funny, I was running around, it was in this tile set I think. If anybody has played Diablo 3 and played it for a pretty decent amount of time before the expansion came out, there was the not cow level. Can't remember what it's called. Basically, it's all rainbows and unicorns and squishy bears and things like that. Those monsters will show up in Rift, you know, when you're doing rifts. So that's kind of funny. I was in this tile set and I was just attacking a whole bunch of teddy bears because they were trying to kill me.
Not yet.
That was really funny when that happened. And I would like to see like the whole unicorns and bunny rabbits and candy and presents and shit. I would like to see that mode show up in a rift. Just so that I can, you know, say, hey, I played this. This happened. And speaking of the cow, the not cow level, I'm not sure how they fix that. If they fix that, with the way that it was before, you would have to make a new staff of herding for every difficulty level. But now that the difficulty levels aren't tied to your character level anymore, they're tied to your like you basically choose your difficulty. I don't know how that works, so I might have to look into that. Might mess with that when I get done with this. Although it takes a while to fill one of these. We've been calling it the blood gauge with the people that I play with, and that's probably adequate or accurate. Oh, man, I don't want to get a second one of these. I think the general consensus on the Crusader is he's just meant to be played as the immovable object, which is a pretty apt description. He's really hard to kill. Like, with a lot of his abilities are increase resistances, get a lot of like life regen, or you know, mitigate a lot of damage through block. So, you know, you play him a lot like you would play a paladin in WoW or a defensive barbarian. Except, you know, he's got space lasers and holy powers all over the place. I wish he did more damage to like undead and demons. Like, just as a passive, he should do like 1% more damage or something. That would just be fun. But I think with Reaper of Souls in general, I think they fixed a lot of stuff that Diablo 3 players were like, this is not that great. You know, the fact that before, when you hit level cap, your only option was to play hard again and gear up so that you could then play Inferno, and then die in Inferno a lot. Like, initially it was die a lot in Inferno, and then they nerfed the damage and changed the difficulty settings and stuff like that. And that was better, but then you were still just running quest mode running the story mode over and over again. So, you know, that's fine. Like, I didn't mind having to pass through those cutscenes and do whatever. I would just be like, especially if I was playing with Mrs. Just like, what act do you want to do tonight? And it was never Act 2. Why? don't like the desert zones. I don't like that. Like I never liked Act 2 in Diablo 2 just because it always took forever to get through. And I feel like even though Act 2 is only like an hour and a half long, if you power through it. Come on, do damage. I'm sure you can hear the clicking. So much clicking. Oh, a pack and a yellow. Sweet. That sounds like a great time. So I died. As tanky as Crusaders are, they still will die, especially if you stand in 2 space lasers. That said, he is kind of hard to kill. Oh, and there's green stuff. So yeah, I was totally just playing that terribly. They did change the visual effects on some of the stuff. Jailers used to be like a reddish color, like the effect on the jailer ability used to be red. Now it is like this purple color, which, you know, that's fine. It makes it contrast with a lot of other stuff, because there's a lot of character abilities that are red. There's a lot of other abilities that monsters can get that are like deep ass red. So I'm totally fine with some of those minimal changes like that. Come on, come on. It's a lot of try not to stand in the stuff and die. They seem to have turned that knob up a little bit, which that's fine. Like the situational awareness that is required for certain monsters is all right. Like that, it just make sure that you're not asleep while you're playing the game. I think overall, like, they have fixed a lot of the things that people did not like about Diablo. The story mode, while the story mode is still there and it is still kind of bland, you only now are required to play through it one time. You don't even have to play through it one time per character, you just have to play through it once. And then you unlock adventure mode, and I think adventure mode is a lot more fun. And like it's straight up, you can just teleport anywhere, from anywhere to anywhere, so it's a little bit more convenient. You don't have to like go all the way back to the waypoint unless you just want to. You know, and that's not, you know, the waypoint thing. Holy crap! Fuck that! Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Look at this. The not having to use the waypoints doesn't really like do anything. You know, you still have to clear X number of monsters and find the named mob you need to kill. So that's not really a huge deal to me. Yeah, let's just keep going. Let's take the speed pylon buff while we're at it. Man. Oh, power pylon. Yeah, we're going to start one-shotting mobs now. Or not. Greatly increased damage. So here's a poison enchanted mob. They still have the standbys of, you know, the illusionist, where, you know, the illusionist mob will still spawn up like 5 copies of itself. That gets a little overwhelming at times, but at the same time, it's also kind of helpful, like when you come across a monster with like fire chains or whatever it is. The illusionists will. The fire chains only come off of the big mob out of the illusionist pack, instead of the fake versions of those monsters. You will then only have to kill the one with the fire chains, and then they'll stop bouncing off of them. Ooh, hey, my gate's going to God, I like these pylons. Like, the pylon buffs are pretty neat. They're just super big. They're like ultra powerful shrines. The buffs only last so long, but that's alright. they only need to last so long.
Patience. Not ready yet.
I'm not dead yet. Oh, because you're vampiric. That's why you're draining life off of me. I'm really hoping to get this rift done before my 48 hit. I might do it. Just run long. So yeah, and you know, the changes they made to some of the other classes and the abilities that they've added to those classes are kind of neat. I don't really play anything other than Barbarian, so I can't speak to anything other than like some of the new talents they added to the Barbarians. They're fine, but I like my old ones better. I just like the way that my Barbarian plays. I don't know if that's just me not wanting to change, or if I just, you know, I just like the way he plays. Man, I was really hoping I was going to get different tile sets, but I guess not. I guess maybe it chooses a random tile set and then throws monsters in it, and that's what you get. Which, where are all the monsters? Did I kill them all? No, they're there. Run away.
Patience.
I need him to stop that. So once you complete a rift, I want to say you get like a little box that's got a bunch of stuff in it. I haven't done too many rifts. I've only done a couple, mostly because, you know, they take a long time. Like they're longer than I expected. There we go. All right, so I've killed enough monsters to summon the Rift Guardian. So it's this big guy. And you know, I don't know if they have specific drops that they may do or what it is. But you know, they're just really big named monsters. Oh, he doesn't name them. Oh, it's because it's Izzle or whatever his name is. The boss, one of the bosses in Act 4.
Not yet.
He's got a lot of life being an expert. But yeah, like the bonus thing, once you finish all once you do all of the bounties in an act, you then get a bonus chest that has a bunch of yellows and crafting materials and stuff like that in it. You know, apparently you can get legendaries out of pretty much anything, right? Like I got legendaries out of off of regular monsters, rare monsters, chests, trash things. Like the drop rates on some of these items are kind of up there. You know, I haven't gotten multiples of a legendary yet, but I'm sure if you play more than a couple hours a week, you'll probably see it.
Patience.
Come on, guy.
Not
So,
yet.
if you are a fan of Diablo 3, this is Diablo 3 made better. If you played Diablo 3 when it first came out a year or whatever ago, and you didn't like it because of the auction house or just like the general gameplay, the fact that you have to keep playing the story mode over and over and over again, whatever. But I totally get why you wouldn't like that. It is kind of boring to just keep playing story mode. Because I mean, after you've seen the story unfold 4 times on a character, or 5 times on a character, leveling up to 60, you really don't want to see it 5 more times on the second character. So it's really kind of nice that they took that and said, hey, we're gonna fix our game. It wasn't broken, it just wasn't as fun as it could have been. And I don't know if they rushed it out, why it was done that way. But they listened to feedback and they were like, you know, we need the auction house isn't working. People are scamming it too hard, especially with the real money auction house. You know, so we're going to remove that, and to balance it out, we're going to, you know, give. Holy crap! Ooh, oh, it's fire brimstone.
My bag is full.
And my bags are full. So they balanced out the, you know. Oh man, that's nice. They balanced out the fact that, you know, you can no longer buy stuff on the auction house with, hey, you now get better drop rates on everything, and the loot is specialized to your character. So every one of these stats, or almost every one of these items that are specifically for my character, or not specifically for my character, that are not for a class that is not the Crusader, probably has strength or vitality on it, or it has Crusader-based abilities. So like this one has a condemned damage plus 8%. And that's part of how they fixed Diablo, and I think that is a fantastic change. They really needed to do something like that, because getting a legendary that has a bunch of stats on it that are not for your class is really kind of a bummer. So I'm glad they've made those changes.
I'm returning to town.
So now that I've finished the rift, we're going to go back to town and we'll finish up the video. So once you kill the big monster at the end of the rift, you then talk to the guy here. I don't know if he gives you a reward. Yeah, and then you get your big fat XP and money boost. And, you know, 1.7 million experience, you know, is a good chunk of a level at level 54. Once you hit 70, you're then starting to push your Nephil, or what is it? Your Paragon level, so you're going to start getting, like, goes up way high. And it's only a very small stat increase, and you don't get any new abilities or anything like that, but it's still really fun how they've changed up the game. So that said, this is the end of the first another 48. I don't know. I don't know what to call it. It's just what I thought of. Diablo. They fixed what was wrong with Diablo 3. There wasn't a whole lot wrong with it, and if you liked what was there, you're going to like the changes they made. If you did not like what they had presented you initially, give it a second chance, or, you know, ask somebody if you can play it on their account or whatever. This is totally like a better version of Diablo 3. It's still not the perfect version that we all hoped it would have been, more like what Torchlight 2 kind of became. But it is still a very, very good version of Diablo, and it has that Blizzard polish in that, you know, it's probably not going to be crazy buggy and broken except in those super rare cases. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys later.